The Last Tenant. When I bought this apartment, I honestly thought everything would fall into place. A small one-room flat in an old panel building. Not the dream, but a perfectly decent option for my modest budget. I'm a 30-year-old bachelor, and it was high time I started living on my own. The move was a spontaneous decision. I saw the listing, signed up for a viewing, met with the realtor, and within a week, I had the keys. Too quick to really think it through. Why was the price so low? The apartment was clean, with a simple renovation. Nothing extraordinary, but also nothing frightening. The only thing that caught my attention was the strange atmosphere. It felt like the air inside was heavier than outside, but I attributed it to my own biases. A new place, a new life. I'd get used to it, I thought. The first few days went by quietly. I gradually settled in, brought my old couch, TV, and a couple of boxes with my things. In the evenings, I'd drink tea in the kitchen, watch movies, listen to music. Everything seemed fine, but even then, I began noticing some oddities. Every night, precisely at 3:24, the apartment would become unbearably cold. Not just chilly, but cold to the bone. I couldn't find the source of it. The windows were closed, the heating seemed to be working, but the atmosphere in the apartment felt like it was frozen. I'd get up, check the radiators and assess everything seemed fine. But as soon as I returned to the room, it felt like someone was standing right behind me. This sensation wouldn't leave me until morning. On the third night, something happened that made me seriously consider selling the apartment. I was lying on the couch, trying to fall asleep, when I heard a creak. It was soft, like someone was carefully walking across old floorboards. I tensed up and listened. The creak came again. It was clearly coming from the hallway. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I didn't take my eyes off the dark opening where the hallway led into the room. A minute passed and everything fell silent. I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks. But before I could relax, I heard a new sound. This time, a faint voice. Mumbled, scratchy, like someone was speaking into an old telephone receiver. I'm not the kind of person who believes in ghosts. I jumped up, turned on the light, and checked the entire apartment. No one. Not in the hallway, not in the kitchen, not in the bathroom. But as I was returning to the room, I noticed something strange. A scrap of paper was lying on the kitchen table. I clearly remembered that it hadn't been there before. The paper looked old. The edges were scorched, as if it had been burned. On it, in a shaky hand, were the words, "You weren't supposed to move in here. Leave while you still can." That's when I truly became terrified. What kind of prank was this? Who had broken into my apartment? Or had the previous owner left it? Panic flooded my mind. I couldn't fall asleep that night. The next day, I called the realtor and pressed him for more information about the apartment. He hesitated, then reluctantly admitted that a woman and her daughter had lived there before me. The girl had died, and the mother had been sent to a psychiatric hospital. The realtor didn't clarify the cause of death, but added that everything was fine with the apartment. No accidents or crimes had occurred there. But I knew he was lying. Before putting the apartment up for sale, I decided to do a thorough cleaning. Strangely, I hadn't checked the attic before. When I opened it, old papers, photos, and a broken toy fell out. Among the junk, I found a child's diary. It had a plaid cover, and the pages had yellowed with time. I sat down on the couch and opened the diary. The first few pages were filled with neat, childlike handwriting. The girl seemed to have written regularly. The entries described ordinary, unremarkable events. Going to school, playing with friends, what her mother bought. But as I read further, the entries became shorter and darker. The handwriting started to change. The letters grew awkward, as if written by a trembling hand. One of the entries read, "Mom says there's nothing there, but I know it's there. IT comes at night. First I hear it, and then it stands by my bed and watches. I'm scared, but I can't close my eyes. IT doesn't want me to close my eyes." A chill ran down my arms. Turning the page, I saw another entry. "I told Mom again, but she just yelled at me and told me not to make things up. IT is angry now. IT moves things around. It whispers. IT says it will kill me if I tell anyone." I slammed the diary shut, overwhelmed by fear. But when the feeling subsided, I opened it again. I needed to know more, to understand what had happened here. The last entry was almost illegible, written in wavy lines. "It is always here now. IT sits in the corner and watches. I can't take it anymore. Please help me. If you found this diary, if you're reading it in this apartment, run. IT won't leave you alone." I slammed the diary down on the table. Suddenly I found it hard to breathe. The room grew cold again, so cold that I could see my breath. For a moment I felt like someone was watching me. It felt like a gaze was burning into the back of my head. I didn't dare turn around. But when I finally gathered the courage to slowly turn my head, no one was there. I needed to get out of that apartment. Fast. I grabbed my phone to call a friend for help, but the screen wouldn't turn on. The phone seemed completely dead. Suddenly there was a loud knock from the hallway. One, then another, as if someone was pounding on the wall with a fist. I stood up, trying to make no sound, and slowly backed toward the door. The knocking grew louder and closer. I froze in front of the door, but just as I was about to reach for the handle, the key flew out of the lock and fell to the floor. In that moment, I understood. I had to run. I quickly snatched up the key, my hands trembling so much I could barely get it into the lock. I twisted it, but the door wouldn't open. I yanked on it, pounded on it, but it felt like it had fused with the frame. Then I heard a voice, a hoarse bass, as if someone was speaking right behind me. "You're not going anywhere?" I turned around but saw nothing. Only a shadow in the corner of the room seemed darker than usual. I couldn't make it out, but I could feel something was hiding there. The cold in the apartment became unbearable. I shut my eyes, trying to calm myself. I hit the door with my shoulder with all my strength and practically flew into the hallway. As I ran down the stairs, I glanced over my shoulder at the open door and saw Ait. The creature was standing in the middle of the apartment's hallway watching me. A tall, thin figure with long arms, its face hidden in darkness, but I could feel its gaze. It silently watched me. And then, the apartment door slammed shut with such force that plaster fell from the ceiling. I screamed and rushed down the stairs. I didn't stop shouting until I was outside. I know for sure that I'll never go back there, not even to collect my things.